All right. Girls talk sense. How much you want to bet it's not going to be sensical at all?
I'm going to say something, but I don't know how it's going to hit. Most men want to be led astray by a woman. There, I said it. What I mean by that is they want escapism and they want a distraction, like one that engulfs them from their own reality. That's why you find like men who have like high status jobs or like really high stress jobs like go to like say escorts or like doms that are gonna like make them feel pain, because it's just like such a big distraction from the reality they're living every day. They literally want this woman to just engulf them in this reality, so it takes them away from real life.
Okay, so not bad, actually. Not bad at all. So far, this girl is actually talking sense. So there you go. What she's saying here is absolutely true. A lot of guys, they seek a complete distraction from reality, and women serve that function when they are feminine, okay? This is the important part to note. Feminine women do an amazing job of painting the fantasy. The issue is, of course, with this, is that a lot of guys aren't ready to take responsibility of that, we'll call it femininity, youthfulness, whatever. It comes in a package, right? The girl can't just turn on her youthfulness and then become an adult at the same time. This process isn't so easy for them. So if you want that strong, independent, whatever woman, if that's actually what you want, you're not going to get this engulfing fantasy. I mean, look, I always criticize girls for wanting everything from a guy. They want him to be super soft while simultaneously being a $500,000 plus earner, destroying work, right? And the two worlds can't really mesh, right? The same thing applies to men, right? They want this perfect fantasy woman that engulfs them in the fantasy, but then also, I guess, knows how to act like an adult, isn't emotional, right? So you do have to deal with some level of emotions. It's more about the nuance of it, right? Like, how are those emotions being expressed? If the emotions are being expressed on their own, that's one thing. If they're being expressed towards you, that's another thing, right? So it's important to understand that in order to enable a girl's femininity and to enable her to pull you into this fantasy, you have to be a man about it, okay? She's going to be youthful. She's going to be not serious. There's going to be times you're going to question how adult-like she is, but in some cases, this is what you need, right? Or what your soul needs, however you want to word it. One thing I do want to point out, though, the way this girl is presenting herself is way better than most of the girls that I'm reacting to, right? So pay attention to this because I think it's very, very important. Like I said, it could be an act. She's wearing a cross and everything, right? She's trying to be a little bit modest. Could be an act, of course, but I think it is important to notice the difference in behavior, the vibe. She's gentle. She's not combative, aggressive, masculine, right? These are important things to look out for when you're trying to find a legitimate woman.
And unfortunately, I've also seen this, like, when it's quite common, like when, honestly, it's not even just when you're out in the bar and you get speaking to like men. It's like people who you work with, like everyday people. I look like I've got horns. There is someone that I sort of like see now and again, and so he uses humor, but I it's just like he's basically like trying to like tell me, like he's asking to be like seduced. I swear to God, that sounds so cringe, but that's the only way I can describe it. I feel like this is turned into a podcast, so I'm going to end it here. But my main point is like men want to be seduced and led astray by a woman. They're actually like craving it.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth in this, right? When you're a certain type of guy of a certain caliber, this is exactly what you want. You want to feel like the girl is breaking you down, right? That's part of the game. There's fun in that, okay? There's a lot of fun in that. Now, a lot of people are going to say a lot of stupid things about this because they have zero finesse or taste or anything, a sense of quality, right? You have to allow this process to exist and to happen organically, okay? The ideal order is girl seduces you and you get broken down, right? Now, I'm not saying it has to be completely orchestrated like an act, right? But this is naturally what it should be. And when it's in this form, this is generally the best foundation for a successful relationship, right? Because a girl's in her feminine and you're in your masculine, and it works. I do want to comment quickly on the dominated part. Yes, there are some guys that like to get dominated, but this is usually a misaligned guy, right? A lot of really successful guys, they do hire escorts. I don't necessarily believe in this practice, but it's something that happens, so I will comment on it. That makes sense, right? Because you're trying to dive into a fantasy, whatever. The one thing I don't like, though, something is misaligned in that guy when he feels the need to be dominated by a woman, right? Now, I'm not really here to judge or whatever. I don't really care that much about this. I don't want to get too deep into this. I can use a lot of examples. People get really mad about it, but many people don't find a good sense of self before they get loaded with money or fame or other pressures that they have a hard time handling. If you haven't figured your own stuff out, right, and you add all of these other pressures in, you will fall apart at the seams. We've seen this all the time. We see with Disney stars when they're really, really young, they get into Disney, they make way too much money, the fame gets to their head, they fall apart, okay? You see this with singers, musicians, they get way too much money early on, then they fall apart because they can't handle the reality that comes with that because the pressure of money and earning is so high. I mean, Justin Bieber is a perfect example of this. Okay, the guy made way too much money when he was 12 years old, super talented, whatever it is. If you look at him now, he's sort of broken and wants to go back to what he was doing initially. He had this phase, wants to go play hockey, whatever it is, and apparently he's talented at that too, right? And the issue there is he was constantly fighting this thing where people looked at him like a little boy, right? And he wanted to be treated like a man, and it was really hard because his life was so public when he was 12 years old. So people remember him as a kid. So it's very, very hard for a guy who's trying to transition into malehood, and not everyone takes it the same way. So this is just one of many examples where just because a guy does something, it doesn't mean it's good or right or normal or whatever. Many people can have misaligned desires because they haven't done the internal work before some sort of external pressure entered the scenario. Whatever, like I said, I don't really care about it. I just want to point that out because I always talk about feminine, masculine balance, and overcompensation one direction or the other can definitely cause issues, and they can manifest themselves in a variety of ways, and that is one of many ways. If you like this video, like and subscribe. If you want to see more of my private content, don't forget to check the link in the description below.